League One, give you a stat for that from NTT20.com's Weekend Notes, which drops on a Monday morning in your inbox on your Substack app and is a lovely mouthful of EFL roundup. The 8 games in League One this weekend produced 15% of all League One goals this season. 30 in total across 8 games is a remarkable return. We had 4 of them in the big one. Doncaster against Bradford wasn't just a game between 2 League One promoted sides, wasn't just a game between 2 proud Yorkshire clubs in a league full of them, with lots of Yorkshire derbies this season in League One. But it was also a little bit George versus Ali, with George pretty confident that Donny were going to fly in League One. I was pretty confident that Bradford might fly with them, the Chickens. Instead, on the day, Donny winning by 3-1. Pecking, clucking their way to victory.
I'm doing the Billy Sharp for anyone not watching on YouTube. I can't believe I just did that. Apologies
Kevin
to
Nolan
Bradford
once
fans.
will
But
be
it must
suing.
It must be so... Like, I was watching this thinking, Bradford fans are having a great time of it at the moment. They've had a tough time of it for a long time. They got promoted last season. They are embracing the bantamness with like full wingspan and have sent social media wild with their kind of you've been pecked by the Chickens. And so to like be in a packed out away end at Doncaster, to equalise having gone behind relatively early on, only to see Billy Sharp of all people, like not only one of the best ever goal scorers in the EFL, but also one of the biggest wind-up merchants in like English football history, score against you and then do your celebration in front of you and then head the corner flag. It must have been like really galling.
Being able to maintain that level of passion, age 39,
it's incredible.
Having been doing it for 20 years, you're missing one extra bit of like vomit-inducing context for Bradford City fans, is that Billy has scored in 9 straight games against
incredible.
Bradford City.
Sick of the sight of him.
Yeah, he was a guest of ours on over the summer in the live show, which means I now have his number, which means I felt compelled to message him. Great goal, great celebration. And he said, haha, always seem to score against Bradford. I mean, as a club, you often get, or as a set of fans, you often have opposition players that you think always score against you. Like, not that guy again. I genuinely can't believe there are many instances in world football of someone scoring in 9 straight games against the same opponent.
But that must also be, I mean, obviously his career is over a long period of time, but that must be over a really long period of time because Bradford has spent quite a lot of their recent history in League Two. Billy Sharp, until last season, had spent very, very little of his recent history in League Two. So that must date back, decade?
Yep.
Decades. Maybe.
Easy.
So, I mean, in that sense, for Donny, I mean, it's always fun, I think, especially at the beginning of a season when you've got 2 teams who came up together playing against each other, helped by the fact that both of them have made like incredible starts to the season. And you and I have had a kind of small rivalry about this on the pod, about like I thought Donny were going to be very good. You thought Bradford were going to be very good. We're both proven right. Obviously, with home advantage, Donny have got the job done here and did so in what was like a pretty good first half performance and then a pretty good second half performance, seeing it out too. Molyneux back in the side, got the first goal before Swan capitalised on a goalkeeping error from Lotitala to make it 1-1. Gibson was maybe the best player on the day, I'd have thought.
Former Bradford player as well.
Former Bradford player who then did a chicken dance in front of the home fans after full time, although much more sheepishly than...
It's good stuff, this.
Sheepish chicken. He did it sheepishly. Can you be a chicken sheepishly?
He was horsing around.
And in the second half, Bradford obviously, as you'd expect, dominated possession, but didn't really create much, and then you'd have a shot on target in the second half. So Donny saw it out pretty well. So a big win for Donny. You doubted their ability to do anything but score through Owen Bailey. Shoved those words down your throat. Maybe Billy would have heard, given that he now knows about the podcast, and thought, and maybe that celebration heading the corner flag, he was picturing your face. But yeah, a good result. 2 teams who started the season very well. Donny getting bragging rights on the day.
Yeah, absolutely. To tie a bow in the stat to end all stats, George reckons that Billy Sharp's consecutive goal scoring streak against Bradford might span a decade. Let me take you back to October 2006.
Decades, I said as well.
19
years,
years.
Not quite. There'll be people there who'd have scoffed when I said decades.
Bradford 0, Scunthorpe 1, Billy Sharp, 79th minute assist from Steve Torpey. In the Scunthorpe team that day, Andy Crosby, Tranmere manager, and Joe Murphy, who played for Tranmere this weekend, aged 44.
Yes. Yeah.
In that Bradford side, Stephen Schumacher,
Yeah.
Dean Windass, and others. A great afternoon for those Donny fans. And definitely ramming many of my words back down my throat in a way that I really enjoyed. Sometimes it's nice to have words rammed back down your throat. The confidence with which they attacked, brilliant to see, and just a really, really good team. I think Bradford are as well. They let themselves down a bit at the back in this game. I think it's fair to say Joe Wright with a big error for Gibson's goal. Curtis Tilt didn't look very comfy either. But Bradford's next game, they get another chance at a Yorkshire derby against Huddersfield, who beat Peterborough by 3-2. Another pretty crazy game. Another one I think was 0-0 at half-time and had 5 goals by the end of it. Peterborough took a shock lead when Leonard hit a free kick that hit Jimmy J. Morgan on the rump.
Can we go from
Went in.
one of my favourite celebrations of the season to maybe one of the most absurd?
Go on.
But do you see what Jimmy J. Morgan did after this? So he obviously I think it's his debut. He's a loan signing. It's his first goal for him. He did score in his loan spell last season at Gillingham twice, I think. But it's a free kick that's just gone in off his bum, and he's gone to the away fans, and he's put his arms out as if
He's gone big.
He's gone really big. He's gone really big, and I kind of love it because I do like the idea that he scored and he just does not care at all that it took no talent or ingenuity to do it. He's like, I've scored. I'm going to enjoy this moment. So I don't know if I love it or hate it, but fair play.
Huddersfield did equalise. Peterborough trying desperately to become a serious defensive side and still not quite getting there. Sorensen burning their new left-back Mendy down Huddersfield's right side and firing it across for Will Alves to finish. New loan signing for Huddersfield on loan from Leicester, played for Cardiff last season, and it's just another good option for Lee Grant to have here. Herbie Kane then spanked home from range via at least one, possibly even 2 deflections. But it was such a sweet strike. You know, it's one of those where you don't begrudge the deflection. And then Joe Taylor had a funny couple of minutes. He ran through one-on-one with the goalkeeper, or rather charged down a goalkeeper kick, ran through, decided not to try and slide it in from a narrow angle, cut back inside, went back round the goalkeeper again, only to hit the post with his shot, and then made it right with a really nice finish when slid through to put Huddersfield 3-1 up. Cian Hayes at the back post made it 3-2, but naught more than a consolation and a real sickener for anyone who had backed Huddersfield -1 as their nap on the betting show. Huddersfield, I've been pretty positive about them the last few weeks. They obviously lost the previous game to Barnsley here. They've only won by a single goal at home to a team who have 1 point from 7 games, but I'm still pretty impressed by what I'm seeing from them. I do still think Peterborough are kind of the story out of the two of these, George, in that 1 point from 7 games is, almost the worst possible return. And one of the things that makes me worry more is almost nothing to do with them and their points return right now. It's if you look at the teams directly above them in the league. You got Port Vale on 2 points, who we are adamant, and spoiler alert, are still adamant, despite their defeat to Bolton Orient, are a good side. Then there's Blackpool, who are massively underperforming, and their performances are concerning, but they've got a lot of quality in there, etc., etc. Then there's Burton on 4 points, but they've played only 5 games. They've got 2 games in hand already over Peterborough. Then there's Reading, who have started really slowly, but we might expect to improve. Then there's Wycombe, who we do expect to improve and got their first win this weekend. Then there's Argyle in 18th, who have improved recently to the tune of 2 home wins in their last 3 games. So there's quite a lot of teams above them that I'm fairly confident will improve, even if Peterborough do. And it's the likes of Rotherham and Northampton and Wimbledon and Exeter that pre-season you would have expected to be relegation battlers. Those 4 teams that already have between 6 and 8 points more than Peterborough United at this point. So, sorry to add insult to injury, Posh fans, but I actually think the league context itself and the other teams down at the bottom, or those expected to be, also isn't in Posh's favour right now. They are the 7th side in the last 22 years to get 1 point or fewer from the first 7 League One games. 4 of 6 have been relegated, but 2 out of 6 stayed up. So it's not all she wrote.
It's not murder.
No.
The issue with this is, if you, on the face of it, a 3-2 defeat at Huddersfield, when you've led, there are kind of, it's a much better result, I guess, than some of the previous ones this season. But when you actually break it down and you realise that the opening goal was a deflection off a buttock, and the final goal was effectively when the game was over, and they offered very, very little apart from those moments. And as you say, Huddersfield missed some big opportunities on top of the 3 they scored. Yeah, and also, I'll be interested to know. Often advocate for continuity rather than knee-jerk sackings, but there still just, to me, feels like an air of complacency around Peterborough United, where I'm sure while some of their fans have woken up to the real threat of the position that they're in, is there any sign that there's going to be a managerial change anytime soon? I don't really see one. Do you have any faith, a club that have only appointed 2 managers in the last however many years are going to go out and recruit the right person to perform a very different task to what has been Peterborough's task in League One for a long time in terms of staying up? I'm not entirely sure. The perception that the squad is good enough to be any better than this, I'm not sure I agree with either. So, I totally agree. I think, and I've said it so many times, I think Peterborough in 2025, in this calendar year, apart from teams who've gone down, have basically been the worst team in League One throughout. And that doesn't show any sign of changing at the moment.
Another entertaining game down at Home Park. Argyle 4, Stockport County 2. Back-to-back wins at home for Argyle, much needed as well. For Stockport, only 1 win in their last 5 league games. George, this was another fairly chaotic but entertaining game.
Yeah, a crazy game. And I think from an Argyle perspective, you probably don't want to. Well, I would warn against getting carried away by scoring 4 goals at home and beating Stockport County, and that's for a couple of reasons. Firstly, the goals themselves. A bizarre own goal from Carl Wotton opened the scoring for Argyle, where he was quite clearly having his arm pulled, but why that meant he kind of did a diving header in the wrong direction and diverted the ball into the goal, I'm not entirely sure. But it doesn't matter, it's a foul, right?
I think if you're pulling me away, but I still feel the need to try and head the ball clear, but you've pulled me so far one way that in order to head the ball, I'm having to head it back towards my own goal. I could see, it didn't look great. It was definitely a foul.
Yeah, definitely a foul. It almost felt like the own goal version of when you're fouled and you kind of pick the ball up to be like, it's going to be a free kick. Like, it almost felt like he was like, well, I'm going to get It was a foul, but even so, by far and away the goal of the day, and maybe my favourite goal of the season from Caleb Watts, to make it 2-0, where the first time you see it, you're immediately thinking is what's happened to Corey Adai here, and then you see the reverse angle and you see that Caleb Watts basically starts the ball inside a defender, like at Adai, who positions himself therefore to basically, I think, kind of catch a ball almost here, and then it bends away using his right foot with the outside of his boot into the top right hand corner.
Amazing.
Ticks every box in terms of being like a very pure strike, very deliberate, but also like totally unique, and a goal that I can't remember seeing before. The second half pretty much consisted of Bradley Ibrahim taking long shots, one of which went in. That was after Norwood had got one back for Stockport with a bizarre penalty. Like absolutely no chance that was a penalty, but given a penalty. And Norwood tucked it away before Talai scored with a brilliant first touch to make it 4-1, and Stockport got one late from Wotton to make it 2-1. The reason I'm not getting carried away... 4-2. The reason I'm not getting carried away is because 3 of Argyle's goals, basically apart from Talai, you've relied on 2 strikes from range, very good strikes, but strikes from range going in, and an own goal, which should have been a foul. Secondly, and this is the elephant in the room, like Stockport defensively are an absolute shambles at the moment. And because the results have kind of been okay to start the season, despite the underlying numbers being poor, I've been willing to be like, surely it's gonna right itself fairly soon. Some surprising selections, I would say, with Brad Hills and Olowu both on the bench here. Olowu has kind of struggled to break into the side consistently. Hills obviously was sent off against Burton, but it came back into the side last time out, but didn't even come off the bench here. It feels like Challoner's really, having had to shuffle the pack. Ethan Pye is obviously a lock for that left-sided role in the defensive 3, but he's really struggling to find continuity and the right blend as a back 3, and that's hampering their progress. They have the worst expected goals against number in the league. They've faced the most shots in the league as well. And we saw on opening day against Bolton where they were battered for the first half and somehow managed to win the game 2-0. We've seen in various other games this season where they've come away with points. The Burton game being another one when they were down to 10 men for a long period of it and scored 2 great goals to make it 2-1. This was always coming, basically. They either have to improve defensively or someone was going to do this to them. And, fair play for Argyle being the team to do it. But putting 4 past Dave Challoner's Argyle at any point up to basically now, I'd say, this is huge for Argyle. But I do wonder, is this a case where they've just come up against a side who are basically due to ship a few because they're so porous?
Yeah, they were meant to be one of the best teams in the league, and they are absolutely miles off that right now, Stockport County, and they might get there. But Challender's he played the hits in terms of his punchy post-match and kind of calling out some players and performances and general vibes. And he's played the hits again and again and again. And that's now like 4 or 5 times this season. And it's not having the desired impact. Bolton beat Wimbledon 3-0. Their second win of the season after drawing 4 of their first 6 games by 1-1. Mason Burstow's looking pretty good. 1-1.
Sorry.
Yeah, that was a weird phrase.
Yeah.
It was a weird phrase, but I was hoping we could gloss past that. Mason Burstow opening the scoring. He's looking good. I'm not sure Bolton fans were, a major fanfare when he was signed. He's obviously someone that's been looking to really smash it at senior level after a really wild youth career, which went sort of non-league to Charlton to Chelsea, and then kind of hit of a bit of a wall there. But looking pretty good. I think was kind of signed after Sam Dalby picked up an injury, but actually is now keeping Dalby, who is back from injury, out the side and scoring here. Looking confident, looking maybe a bit bigger and stronger, I think, than some people expected from Burstow, who's still a young striker. Now, Wimbledon were having a small spell at the start of the second half, and we had just had a free kick, really well placed, which Hippolyte had taken into the wall back out to Marcus Brown, who'd taken a shot, which I think was blocked. And Wimbledon were imposing a bit of pressure against a Bolton side who constantly this season have dominated games and managed to draw them 1-1. And it felt like that might be on the cards again until Marcus Brown put in one of the stupidest tackles you're ever likely to see. There was a poor touch from Conway, which I could see why it might tempt you to try and win the ball, where otherwise you would just jockey. But the way that Brown went in for the tackle and the timing of it, which was late as Conway poked the ball away, and the impact on Conway's ankle was just horrendous. It was an obvious red card. It was right in front of the dugouts. And I was watching the game live at the time. There was one reverse angle, an incredible Johnny Jackson reaction to this. It's right in front of him. There's nothing really on. Wimbledon are in their shape. Conway's trotting forward with the ball. Bolton are going to try and generate an attack from there. And it's right in front of JJ, and you just see him go like, oh, yeah, okay. That's pretty bad. That's pretty bad. Reeves picked up Brown off the floor and basically threw him down the tunnel because you'd be fuming. You'd be absolutely fuming if you're Wimbledon. They conceded pretty quickly afterwards to an amazing Koza Dewberry goal.
But I mean, it's interesting with Brown because he's obviously a player that I've seen play a lot. And I was just looking at it now, he got 12 yellows and a red card in his first ever full season of professional football playing for Oxford when he was a teenager. He is this player. And he also got a really bad red card. I remember for Borough away at Swansea in a game that they lost 3-1. And I remember I was working on Quest that day and remember saying he's basically got this side to him where sometimes he just sees red. If you'd told me then in 2019 that he wouldn't get another red card until 2025, I'd have been absolutely amazed. But that's the case. A load of bookings, but it's a side of his game that he seems to have ironed out. And actually thinking about it, when he came back to Oxford, that really petulant, seeming kind of sometimes his desire to basically commit these kind of fouls or inability to stop himself had gone. So, yeah, surprising that it's taken this long. But when I saw the tackle, I wasn't overly surprised that it was Brownie who did it.
When I saw Amario Koza Dewberry slide one into the far corner
finally
with real skill and panache, I was not surprised.
A nice tribute to his namesake.
Michael Dewberry?
No, Giorgio Armani, who died last week.
Not his name.
Yeah,
his
Amario.
Amario.
Yeah, it sounds very similar.
To Armani? Amario.
Amari.
Okay.
Amario.
We'll call it even after I called it a 1-1 goal draw.
Say them back to back really quickly.
Amario. Armani. Still no. There's literally a player in the EFL called Armani Little, who we could do that for later. If
put it in a nice corner.
There you go. Really nice homage to the great fashionman. What else happened? Yeah, Conway scored the third, I think, and I love Max Conway.
No, it was he did one of the worst crosses of all time that created the third.
Oh, okay.
He tried to deliver a clip ball through, clip left-footed ball to the back post and said he scuffed it and it was diverted home.
Randall tapped it in.
Yeah.
Conway for Randall, not Randall for Conway, as it said in my notes. Just love that Conway is Bolton's starting left-back, and it seemed like an obvious thing to say, but if you're a League One club and you're looking to loan out your players that aren't quite breaking into the first team, but that you think are promising, is quite difficult. Not that many League Two clubs are going to be looking at League One clubs for their loanees. They're going to be looking at Championship or even Premier League clubs for them. Conway went on loan to Crewe last season. The perfect landing spot for him, even though Crewe had a disappointing season. He played all 46 league games. He won their Player of the Season award. It was an impeccable loan. I love the fact that he played every game as well, because I love availability. And I just love the fact that there might be clubs in League One, particularly with Bolton's budget and ambition, who'd have still gone but we need to buy a left back that we can be absolutely sure of. And instead, Conway has started the season as left back, and that place is his to lose now. And it reminds me of a line from a blog post that I read 21st Group, as they were back then, 21st Club wrote, which made it into one of their handbooks, which is basically, what if the answer is in the building? And it's essentially the idea that we massively overestimate how much better a player that we're going to buy is to the player in his position that we already have in our squad. And we waste loads of money trying to buy better players who in reality aren't that much better, if at all. And the answer quite often can be in the building. But it's sometimes quite brave to not make the signing, because we have this kind of action bias thing in the transfer market where signings are seen as good and not signing players is seen as not good. And I love that. And the icing on the cake, as I've only literally just discovered on his Wikipedia page, is that his full name's not Max. And it's not Maximilian either.
Maxwell
Conway. Nice to meet you.
Amazing.
I've always been adamant that Maxwell is not a first name, and therefore I'm not a man with two first names.
You are.
Conway laughs at that.
You're a man with two first names and two surnames.
Ugh. Everything I didn't want to be. Can we talk Bolton quickly? They obviously won here and probably would have without the red card, but it certainly helped.
I'm pretty happy to go big on Bolton now.
They are taking more than 3 shots per game, more than anyone else in League One. And they are facing more than 3 shots per game less than anyone else in League One.
So when you see they've had the most shots outside the box, you're like, okay. Yeah, they've had the most shots inside the box too. So they're just doubling up on both, really. I think they're really good. I think in Cozy Dubry, we've got similar vibes to Raksaki when he was at Charlton, where he's quite obviously, and I know the loan last year at Blackburn didn't go to plan. That's the difference. But you see him on the ball, he's not. You often get academy kids who dominate at a level because of their pace, whereas from what I'm seeing, he's not very quick. He is just an incredibly good footballer who's also creative and a big goal threat. I was looking earlier, and his pass completion, the amount of passes he's getting through per game from a wide right role, and his retention is bizarre for a wide player. You don't often normally see it because normally they take more risks and they're getting crosses in. I'm a big fan of what he's doing. I think Bolton, to me, look like the real deal, really, in a league where there are obviously a couple that look strong, but for the most part, a couple maybe thought were going to be strong aren't. And when you look through those 4-1 all draws, they were by far the better team in all 4 of those games. So Bolton are good is my big takeaway. And also, and I think the addition of Marcus Force is a really good one. I think a player that basically just shouldn't be playing in League One, really, and can play a host of roles and will score a lot of goals for them. Yeah,
they are the 4th favourites for the title right now, 10th in the league after their 7 games. The 2 favourites, Cardiff and Luton, didn't play this weekend. Huddersfield, the 3rd favourites, obviously played and won against Peterborough. What else? Well, another 3-2, another crazy game, dramatic finish, and great storyline. Some week for Charlie Wellens, son of Richie Wellens. Charlie Wellens plays for Bolton Orient, managed by his dad, Richie Wellens. And in midweek, he played in the trophy and he stuck a 25-yard free kick into the top corner. Here, he came on for Orient at Port Vale. Now, it was 2-2 heading into injury time. It had been a pretty lively affair where Port Vale, not for the first time this season, not for the 2nd, 3rd, 4th or 5th time this season, realistically, had given a good account of themselves, had been competitive and to an extent actually dominant, the better side, and pushing for the win, and end up losing it. Devante Cole had a pretty eye-catching performance at the top of the pitch for Vale after his year off at West Brom, setting up Croasdale for the opening goal, then equalising to make it 2-2 after Connolly and O'Neill had scored for Orient. And Port Vale were all over them. I switched on for injury time in this game, and I was expecting to see a really cathartic late Port Vale winner, which I think they would have merited and deserved and earned.
And not just on the day, but all season, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And instead, I saw a mix-up down the left side, which saw Aaron Connolly nick the ball away and dart down the right-hand side, carry it inside. Ojo not doing what most modern midfielders do and pulling him back and stopping his advance. Connolly getting it into Karoma, and then on the overlap was Charlie Wellens, the spare man, and he just rolled it. Really composed finish, sort of through or under or through the keeper's legs to win it in front of a bonkers away end, and one of two players, him and Michael Mellon, scoring winning goals for their dads this weekend.
So great. I love that.
Yeah.
Just justification. The Nepo babies fight back. Yeah, this was, as you say, like a game where Orient, I think, in the first half would have felt like they were the better team, but Port Vale's performance in the second half was very good. Ojo coming the closest with that header against the crossbar. So for Vale, it's obviously very difficult for them because far enough into the season now that fans are like, well, yeah, it's all well and good, looking like we might be able to play well in patches within games, but defensive lapses at key moments, 2 points on the board. Like, we've just sat here really kind of grilling Peterborough, who are 1 point, and Port Vale on a point more. Now, I would argue that the evidence to hand suggests that Port Vale are an infinitely better side than Peterborough right now, but they have to start showing it fairly soon. And we often do see clubs who start well in terms of performances and underlying numbers. The rot can basically set in if things don't go to plan, and performances can turn. And even though there's no evidence of that right now with Vale, at some point heads are going to drop and fans are going to get frustrated.
And who else could this happen to, I was thinking, because I've got a taste for sons scoring goals for their dad. Grant McCann's son is on the books at Barnsley, so he'd need to sign him off Barnsley, but there's every chance. Paul Cook's son plays for Chesterfield, although he's an EFL trophy player. He doesn't really play in the league, but he starts all the trophy games.
Right.
Steve Bruce's son, Alex Bruce, I don't know if he ever played and scored for his dad, but probably along the way. Lee Grant's son is called True Grant.
Yeah, that's incredible.
He just signed for Stoke, a young goalkeeper, unlikely to score,
I saw that,
but could play for him. Same with Andy Woodman and Freddie Woodman. Once he's bored of being Liverpool's third keeper, he might do a season at Bromley. How amazing would that be?
Yeah.
I mean, he'd have a tough job getting Grant Smith stops, but
Sam Allardyce Jr.?
What's he?
I don't know. He signed
Oxford.
He signed for Oxford in 2019.
Yeah.
Carl Robinson, famously, Sam Allardyce's assistant at Blackburn back in the day. And I've just looked online and I cannot find any mention of him since. So unlikely it feels at this stage that either Sam or Sam Jr. will partner up.
He's not put himself in the...
And he's not his son. So
what?
He's his grandson.
A grandson. He's not put himself in the position of maximum opportunity, or POMO, as it was popularised by his granddad. Paul Warne's son, Mackenzie, he was on the books at Rotherham when Warne was manager there. He's now playing in non-league, so he needs to sort of kickstart things if he's to get to play for Warney again.
Sam Allardyce plays for Nova Southern Eastern Sharks. So there you go.
Oh, little college action.
Big Sam going to head over there to manage, do you think, maybe?
Little US college. God, it must be fun going to US college as a really good
Especially
English footballer.
He's 24 now. So, he's played for Bury, he's played for Oxford. He's like, you know what, I'm going to go to Nova Scotia.
He's 24 and he's still... Are they a college team?
Yeah.
They're not like a sort of USL team. They're an actual like D1, D2 college team.
They are. Nova SC University is the brackets afterwards, so I'm guessing so.
And he's 24. He's getting to sort of Van Wilder territory there. You can't be playing...
Can't be a college team because all their players are old. Do you recognise any other ones? Sam Allardyce there. Pitu. Jamie Bullock, Scottish right back.
Nice. George. Wycombe 2, Mansfield 0.
Yeah.
A very important win for Mike Dodson, Mansfield, and 2 debutants on the score sheet.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is as good a kind of post-window win as a team are going to get. I think Mike Dodds would have correctly come under severe pressure had they not won this one. And there was consternation amongst the Chairboys fan base when Knotty Towers news broke that Daniel Udo was swapping Wycombe for Salford City.
Great scoop.
Yeah, given that I think Wycombe fans woke up on deadline day morning thinking we need to sign a striker. not even thinking that their main man would be on the way out. So for Sam Bell, who is a wide player but is on the pitch effectively to score goals, and for Cauley Woodrow, who's come in to lead the line, albeit not the kind of big burly striker that maybe Wycombe fans would have wanted, but someone who'll play in the middle of the front three, for them to score the 2 goals, and to keep a clean sheet, to do so relatively convincingly, to not be overly troubled during the game, is exactly what the doctor ordered for them. So both, I think there were some doubts about Woodrow's suitability. Brilliant penalty. There were 2 very good penalties, I thought, this weekend, and this was one of them where, watching the goal back, it basically feels like the net bulges before he kicks it, which is kind of impossible because he hits it so hard. I know. He hits it and then it's in the net.
Wow.
Which is good. And Bell with a nice finish too. So, yes, a very good day at the office for Wycombe, who haven't had very many, really, over the last few months.
Just sort of taking a look at their squad this morning, because a lot of churn all throughout the summer and just kind of waiting for the window to close and the dust to settle. And I think my overall takeaway, just in terms of squad quality, been so much with Wycombe and the new investment, the new owners, and trying to sort of change their place in the food chain and change the expectations of the club, really. And it's hard to do that overnight, I think. And they're not doing it by just overpaying and buying all the best players from the league above, like a Wrexham, for example. They're doing it by trying to be bullish but creative in their recruitment. I think my takeaway is they've got a good squad with lots of options for Dodds to work with, but not an amazing squad. I don't look at Wycombe's squad and think, they should definitely be challenging for automatics or even necessarily top 6 because of the players that they have. I don't think they've really got anyone that I would consider the best player in the league in their position. But Dodds is a development expert. That's what's got him this job, realistically. So I think it's a good group for him to work with if the expectations are set fairly. The problem is he's already far enough into his reign where I think it's just going to be difficult for him to actually get his feet under the table at this point. Obviously, if he does, that will mean that wins like this happen more often and the fans start being won round. Rotherham beat Exeter by 1-0. A first win for Rotherham since opening day, and a deserved win as well. Exeter have this ability to go away from home, play football matches, and barely make an impact, barely make a dent on their opposition. And Rotherham were good enough to make the most of that. It was a nice goal as well from Denzel Hall.
I was about to start crying.
Yeah, it was a nice goal. Just beauty.
It was a great goal.
Yeah.
Really good goal.
He did a back heel, and then he got on the end and finished nicely.
And then the first touch and the bang. It was I reckon it must have been really satisfying for him to, as you say, do the pre-assist and just gallop forwards, and it fell for him perfectly. And he's a player, I looked being like, wow, he must have, the way that he took that, he must have scored quite a lot of goals. No, barely scored any goals in his career. He didn't score any goals at Heronvane. He scored 1 goal in 30 odd appearances for Ada Den Haag. So this was only his 2nd career league goal.
Wow.
But it was a good one.
And he came off with a hamstring injury, as did Keon Atete. So Rotherham fans happy to have got the win, increasingly frustrated by these injuries that are really making what is already a squad that doesn't leap off the page, really disrupting it. Exeter, as I say, just offering very little here. Akil Higgins is on loan from West Brom, new signing for them. He looked pretty bright down the left, probably their brightest spark. Set up a goal that was offside for McGuinness. 1-0 to Rotherham. And finally, Lincoln 2, Wigan 2, George, was an absolute epic of a 2-2 draw, basically. No exaggeration when I say that Sam Tickle's assist for Paul Mullin was one of the best goalkeeper assists I've ever seen. Like a side-winding, left foot out the hands, which basically its initial trajectory makes it look probably like it's going to go out for a throw and curls back so much that by the time Mullin takes it in his stride, he's basically between the posts, goes around the keeper and finishes really well.
Would you have fancied Paul Mullin to absolutely batter Derikwa in a foot race over 20 metres?
Probably not.
Nor would I, but he did.
There you go. It just shows that one of the worst things that we and general fans can understand only with our eyes is the pace of players. Sometimes players that you think aren't quick, it turns out they are. I saw Omar Shomi of Bromley, the man mountain, sprinting on Saturday evening, looking like one of the quickest players I've ever seen.
Just around yours.
I assumed he was quite slow, and he turns out he's absolutely rapido.
The way he said Saturday evening, I know it's because it was a late game, but it makes it sound as if you were just walking down your street and looked over at the kind of, just saw Omar Shami just absolutely pelting it down the road.
But James Collins turned things around. His 200th and 201st EFL goals, which means that he joins Billy Sharp and Jordan Rhodes in the 200-plus club. It's an amazing thing.
Penalty.
Amazing, great penalty and a really nice first-time finish as well, showing classic Collins fox-in-the-box instincts for his second. He's hit double figures in 11 separate seasons, and another on the way. I'd be willing to wager this season. Like that sort of longevity and goal scoring being the strongest currency in the game, it really does bear applauding. Now Sadie plays up front for Wigan. He got sent off here, which he was very, very unhappy about. It was one of those tackles where there's no particular malice. He's trying to get his body across the ball to shield it from the defender that's arriving, but in doing so ends up just studding the defender on the ankle and getting sent off. I had a mole at this game who said that Sadie's performance before the red card outside the box, so in terms of holding up, linking play, running channels, that sort of thing, he basically said if you could combine him and James Collins inside the box into one player, it'd be an £80 million striker. I really liked that. But in the end, I think the goalkeepers are worth a mention as well. Tickle for the assist, but also for a big save. Yeah. Wickens made a big save here as well. Costello hit the bar for Wigan. Reach had one off the line for Lincoln. Just a really entertaining, good 2-2 draw between two pretty interesting sides to start the season.
So on Wigan, as listeners and viewers will know, we are now sponsored by the Sky Bet EFL Building Foundations Fund, which supports community-focused initiatives run by EFL club charities, working in a range of different ways with local communities to provide what are often life-changing initiatives in the local area. Now, much of this very vital work is expensive. So each season, the Sky Bet EFL Building Foundations Fund makes £1 million available for funding for clubs and their charities, with a maximum grant of up to £100,000 awarded to successful bids. 6 million in 6 seasons. It's a lot. And you and I are going to be travelling around the country this season to see for ourselves the amazing impact this funding is having. And we're excited to tell you about it when the time comes to do so. And a couple of weeks ago, we were up in Wigan and we went to go and speak to the guys at the Wigan Athletic Community Trust and the Every Player Counts initiative. Now, it's like, I found it pretty incredible. It was our first trip to see what the work that is being done, and this specifically is in relation to an adult disability football programme, which is run weekly and has been run weekly for a long time up in Wigan. And in particular, over the course of the summer, they ran alongside the adult disability football programme, they had nutrition courses and gym classes as well. You donned your Wigan Athletic full tracksuit gear and to take part in these. We met a couple of the guys, and we also went to the Wigan Athletic training ground and were lucky enough to meet Paul Mullen, who also did a penalty taking or masterclass, as we're calling it, too. Now, the content's going to be coming out over the course of the next week or so people will be able to see for themselves. But I don't know how you found it, but it really hammered home to me the kind of impact that football clubs can make within the local communities.
100%. Yeah, it was amazing, really. We had basically 2 full days there. We were welcomed with open arms, and as you say, this is happening all across the country. All clubs are doing amazing stuff, and some of it is similar to this, and some of the initiatives are completely different. Like the level of creativity being shown across the country is amazing, and the funding that the Sky Bet EFL Building Foundations Fund gives out goes to a massive range of stuff. But I just thought this was amazing. It's one of the most inclusive things you could possibly imagine. It is a disability football program, but it's very open-ended when they are inviting people to come along. This is disabilities of all different kinds, and so it's a really wide range of people that come and attend the program. But it's clearly having a massive impact on all of them, and you can kind of see why. Like, we spoke to Callum and Ryan and Adam in particular, spent a lot of time with them over the 2 days. And
great guys.
Yeah, they were amazing guys, and they just buzz off it. Like, they come and play with their mates in a sort of semi-organised session, which is geared around fun and just playing small-sided games, which we did in a mini tournament. But also, they do this really intense gym session, and they have all come on so much from a physical standpoint since doing that gym session. They also have a few sort of education pieces around nutrition, which I think has helped a huge amount for a lot of them. And the upshot is that they all said how much has impacted them in terms of they just feel so much better within themselves. And when I was reflecting on it, I realized that that's for so many different reasons. That's why this program's really impressive, because it kind of has an impact in different ways. On the one hand, from a physical point of view, we all know that if we're in a spell where we're exercising regularly and we're doing the right things, we feel better within ourselves. You start to feel stronger and you notice the benefit of that, and you enjoy the endorphins that you get and the feeling of being stronger physically. From a nutrition standpoint, we all know that if you eat better than you were eating before, you notice a positive impact on the way that you feel, on your energy levels, all of that sort of thing as well, and how you look and feel. And then there's the aspect of, well, the social aspect and the community aspect, where they wake up on a Monday morning and they can't wait for it to be Wednesday, where they get to go and do all this stuff and play football with their mates and have a lot of fun. They also get to play for Wigan in a local league against teams like Oldham, Man U, and represent the club. And you could see what it meant to all of them, basically wearing the Wigan badge on their shirt and representing Wigan in a local league. It was all really infectious talking to them about the impact that it's had. And then you strip it back and you realise like what it takes to put on something like this. You need a lot of professionals who put on the sessions and do so in a really, really amazing way. And I think that's where Wigan Athletic Community Trust have really smashed it with this programme. They were very, keen to make the point that the funding from the Sky Bet EFL Building Foundations Fund meant that this is free for all participants. And that's probably the last thing that I think I really left realising, is that if you can remove that barrier to entry of even if it's a £5 or a £10, how many people do you reckon were at that football session? Because it felt like 50?
Yeah, loads.
40 or 50 participants. If that was £5 or £10, I don't know, and I don't know for sure, but it would be a lot less. And instead, everyone is welcome and anyone can turn up and join in as much or as little as they can. And that inclusivity was, it was really, really touching. That's not to say I didn't take the tournament pretty seriously.
You did.
Because I was playing for team non-bibs. And
I saw you make some great saves. and then the funny thing is you went to be playing a goal, and then in the last game I saw you just jog outfield and start strutting your stuff. It was, as you say, it became very clear to us very quickly how integral it was to these guys' lives, and like how it quite clearly was something that not only they look forward to, but also in order to enable them to get out of the house and make new friends. Like, these guys are massive Wigan fans as well. Like, we interviewed them in the stadium, and they're pointing out to us where their season ticket is, and we were talking about games. Obviously as an Oxford fan, I was talking about games in the past that they played against Oxford, and then going to the training ground the next day and seeing the way that there was a group of 5 guys who the trust organised to be given a tour of the training ground, watch training. Ryan Lowe came over and had a chat with them, ribbed us about our 1-24s. The players were really good. Like, Johnny Smith just came over and like no one asked him to, and just stood having a chat with the guys for 5-10 minutes. Paul Mullin, who's of course been, on social media and elsewhere, been vocal about his son Albie, who's got autism. Quite clearly as someone who works a lot within communities at previous clubs in the past, who was more than happy to come and help us out, and came over and spoke to the guys, did this penalty taking drill where we won't give away his secrets, but it's good to see he scored a penalty since then. You went in goal, and I had to face a couple of Paul's penalties, and also the guys' penalties who've been taught by Paul, and you didn't get near any of them. So thank you to him. I think it was a really special day for the guys, but most importantly, you and I have done this podcast for nearly 10 years and basically always spoken about as football. And whilst we, I hope, have often represented fans when they needed us in terms of their football club, this is the first time I've ever actually seen, and we've sat in judging panels and other things talking about work in the community and players work in the community and community trust initiatives, but this is the first time I've seen it in action. And we've been to Middlesbrough since and seen something very, very different, but will be similarly life-changing for certain people. And it's, I guess, stating the obvious once you think about it, but like the work that is going on and the work that these trusts do is incredible, and it needs to be supported. Lots of
video content to come from our couple of days in Wigan, which we hope you'll watch and enjoy. And if you do, it'd be great if you shared it widely so that others can see what an amazing programme it is at the Wigan Athletic Community Trust. And plenty more to come on that front throughout the season.